G'day and welcome to On The Esky, an Australian sports podcast where we like to wrap up the week that was in sport. It is Anzac Day down under today. We'll be drinking a few for the Diggers. We do appreciate what they did for us, so we can sit down free, talk some shit, watch some sport, and because we're losers, we're here on the internet, not down the pub. So shout out to anyone that is down the pub at the moment playing two up and getting geared up for a cracking afternoon in the Australian sporting calendar. On today's show, we will start with the cricket. The IPL is about halfway through. Geez, Josh Butler's looking pretty good. Then we'll go into the weeks in the AFL and the NRL and preview the big upcoming Anzac Day clashes. NBA playoffs, we're right into the first round with a few series starting to take shape. NFL draft week, baby. We'll quickly talk about the news in the NFL and set up for a Friday show, Thursday night over in the States, where me and Sean will be following the draft live. So make sure to catch that if you are a NFL fan. Plus, the baddest motherfucker on the planet, Tyson Fury, has defeated Dillian White. The F1 returned after a week off to the Emilia-Romagna and all the other news in the world of sport. Please remember, we do have timestamps. If you want to skip to the sports you like, you can do at the bottom. Or if you're a complete nuffy like us, just listen to the whole damn thing. Chuck us a subscribe on the YouTube or a follow on the socials. And yeah, let's get stuck into it. We do have joining us from South Australia, our resident AFL correspondent and IPL expert, Steamer, the Ginger Ninja, the Rev. How are you, mate?
Yeah, thanks, fellas. I'm doing well. Good to join you here. Day 7 of COVID lockdown for us. So the missus has been a bit unwell, but I've managed to dodge it. So we'll get back into it tomorrow. But yeah, had a good week. How are you boys?
Going good, mate. Did you manage to catch pretty much every second of the sporting calendar this week or what?
Yeah, I've watched a fair few of the AFL games this weekend and trying to watch the IPL where I can. Obviously, the time difference doesn't help, but KO minis each day a good way to keep up to date. So
indeed,
definitely have my fair share.
Sounds very good. We're looking forward to hearing your insights on the cricket and AFL. We do like to shout a beer to start off our show, and I'll throw it over to you, Steam. We shout a beer to commemorate someone who achieved something or did something in the sporting world this week. Steam, who are you shouting a beer?
Yeah, thanks, fellas. Well, I thought about, as you mentioned, Josh Butler's on fire. I thought about shouting him a beer, but as an Australian, I couldn't, in good faith, shout an English cricketer a beer. So, of course, today being Anzac Day, myself being a former Air Force man, wanted to shout out to a veteran, and I've picked out Arthur Leggett. He's a 103-year-old World War II veteran, and he recited the Ode of Remembrance before the Fremantle and Carlton game. So great effort from the old fella. Get out onto the field, had a couple of current Army guys kind of there to help him out. But yeah, during the week, he said the Ode means a lot to him. There's been a lot of magnificent people in the past who've been destroyed by war, never come home. So he said if he can stand up in front of 50,000 people and represent them, gives him a good feeling. So I'm sure everyone who was there at Optus Stadium probably wanted to shout him a beer, but he can have another one on me.
Yeah, very good, Arthur. 103 to be out there in the middle and reciting the ode to kick off the game. An absolute legendary effort there from him, so well-deserved there.
Definitely.
Sean, a bit of sad news in your shout a beer. Run us through it, mate.
Yeah, so I decided to shout a beer out to Nathan Stapleton, or probably more his family and all those around him as well. Former Shark, he played in the NRL, unfortunately broke his neck during the week playing for the local country club. So he basically paralysed from the shoulders down. A bit of a shocking one. By all accounts, the team doing the best they could, trying to do CPR and the like on the field. It's a tough one after, we've talked about head knocks and, the gladiator sports they play and the guys going out there, wanting to enjoy playing professional sports. But this sort of stuff happens. But wanted to shout a beer out to him and think of him. And of course, he does have a GoFundMe page that if you want to support him and get involved in helping out that family.
Yeah, shocking news for the former Sharky. Thinking of him and his family for his recovery. Was playing for Burra, which is just up the road from us here in Canberra. So definitely hits quite close to home. So thinking of Nathan Stapleton and his family moving forward.
100%.
Marks, shouting a beer?
Yeah, I'm going to go international. So the topic that we love to talk about but never talk about, MLB.
Baseball, big baseball aficionados.
That's it. That's us here on the Esky.
It doesn't get much notes, but it gets a few shout of beers.
yeah, that's how we sneak it in.
That's very true. That's how we keep up to date with the MLB. But yeah, this week I'm going to shout Miguel Cabrera, designated hitter for the Detroit Lions. He crossed the 3,000 career hit mark this week against the Colorado Rockies, making him only the 33rd player to join that 3K hit club. Considering that about 18,000, 20,000 players have gone through the MLB,
that is wild.
That's pretty crazy. And also with his 502 home runs, he's also only the 7th player in MLB history to hit that 3,000K, 500 home run mark. So yeah, pretty great achievement. So yeah, shout him a beer this week.
Old Miguel Cabrera, he has been there for donkey's years, isn't he?
20 seasons.
20 seasons. He is, quick Google, 39. Just celebrated his 39th birthday, the Venezuelan.
That's it.
That's pretty stellar career from him. So
Definitely.
Deserves a cold one.
Yeah.
Chuck on top of that, boys. You said there's 7 players with 3K and 500.
Mm-hmm.
He's only one of 3 of those who've got a batting average over 300.
Ah, there you go.
Yeah,
So
he hits
very elite company.
Yeah,
Yep.
he hits at almost 500. I think it was. Could have that wrong. But yeah.
Well, his average might be
310.
310.
Yeah. Sorry.
Is he hitting a 500 this year? Is that maybe where you're getting that from?
That's maybe where I got it from.
Anyway.
I don't know.
Baseball.
But yeah, that's it.
I'm just trying to save him. It's all right.
Sorry, within that 7 players, 3 are Hall of Famers, so elite company.
Yeah.
To hit that mark there.
He'd be straight in, you'd imagine.
I think so.
Coming from someone that knows very little about baseball. Thanks for that, Marks. Enjoy your cold one, Miguel Cabrera. I'll be shouting Tamare Martin a beer, who, after 3 years out of the NRL, 1,092 days to be precise, he made his comeback Friday night against the Bulldogs, straight into the number 1 jersey. A lot of pressure there. Jermaine Osako had been moved on to the Titans. Tessie Newey had been playing number 1, and yeah, the Broncos fans of late haven't had much to cheer about. A lot of pressure on the fullback, and he actually played a stellar game. He had 147 run meters, 6 tackle busts. Looked like he belonged in the NRL. He's still got that elite footwork and speed. He actually retired from the game after suffering a brain bleed back in 2019 when he was with the Cowboys, formerly Penrith Panthers junior. And he shared a nice moment post-match with his former teammate and idol, Jonathan Thurston. And in true NRL fashion, the warrior sport that it is, the toughness, and always one to have a little bit of a laugh. JT asked him, he said, you suffered a brain bleed. It's pretty serious kind of stuff. To which Tamare responded, "Don't worry, it's not that big. It didn't bother me." Completely downplayed it, and he's back after 3 years. So wishing him all the best moving forward. A bit of a feel good story to finish off our Shout of Beers segment. And yeah, it'd be interesting to see what
100%.
happens. When Tessie Newey is back, will Tamare Martin stay in that side? Does he stay at fullback? Will he move somewhere else? Will be interesting.
They moved him straight into fullback and then give Cobbo a run there as well, which kind of shows what they're thinking of him. And he hadn't played any Queensland Cup games either. He was straight into the Brisbane squad. So,
it's pretty wild,
pretty crazy,
crazy stuff. A lot of the Broncos fans I've seen on social media really calling for Selwyn Cobbo to get that number 1 jersey. Selwyn is still very young. We do think he's going to be a superstar of the game.
Got a double against the Doggies. So.
Indeed, but often that's the way that fullbacks get blooded in the NRL, is starting on the wing and moving to the the number 1 jersey. It's a good problem, I think, for Kevin Walters to have moving forward. Is a lot of guys, putting their hand up to play in that Broncos spine, and they did come away with a win against the COVID-affected Bulldogs. But we'll talk about that later. And we'll move forward into our Mop of the Week segment. Sometimes we're a little bit hard-pressed thinking for mops. It can be hard to criticise those in the sporting arena. We had plenty, actually, this week. We had to have a short list and cut down a few mops, if you will.
It's like the work experience kids came to do some cleaning, and we've got mops to hand out all left, right, and centre.
Everywhere, yeah. We're going to have the cleanest floor in the podcasting business, I think, this week. Plenty of mops getting around, all different types of heads on them, the long, fingery-looking ones, the standard foam mop. But anyways, 2 blokes coming into the Talk Shit, Get Hit Mop of the Week segment. One bloke over in the States bugging Mike Tyson on a plane. Apparently he had eaten some mushrooms and was on the beers and was sitting behind Iron Mike and thought it would be a good idea to be a pest to one of the baddest motherfuckers to ever live. Sean, how did that end up for him?
Not well, because it ended up he didn't get the famous big hook, but he got plenty of quick jabs. Let's put it that way. He got beat up, and of course Tyson famously had the quote on Rogan that did the round this week of being on social media has made you comfortable about not getting hit, like talking shit in public. So it's come full circle when someone now talking shit to him and they got hit. So. Of course, this dude wants to press charges. We'll see what happens with that.
So American, isn't it?
Yeah. What was interesting, Tyson then missed his connection flight because of this. So then Dana gave him a private jet. And he jumped on that, and then and
then there's a funny video
that's
with
the video.
that.
Dana's like, "Give me your seat," and then Mike Tyson. Dana's like, yeah, sure, bro.
Okay, because I did see that video and I was like, when the hell did this happen? So that makes sense. So
Dana hooked him up,
getting the former heavyweight champ on his private jet. Yeah, interesting. Big Iron Mike. Probably not one to mouth off against. To quote the great Hangover movie, when poor Zach Galifianakis cops one from Iron Mike and Stu goes, he's still got it, man. That's Mike Tyson. Yeah, he's still got it. Don't worry about that. I'm interested to see what happens moving forward. We don't condone violence on the Esky, of course, but we just like to highlight a few funny little vids that we saw during the week. Another one, again, around the Talk Shit, Get Hit theme. At that Broncos Bulldogs game at Suncorp on Friday night. Now, this bloke, by all reports, had been yelling out and general tomfoolery during the minute's silence.
I think a lot of tins were down beforehand. But
one could assume.
One could assume.
But
that probably doesn't give him the right. During the minute's silence, when everyone's been quiet, yelling out stuff, and you could hear it through the broadcast. Talking.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
You hear him saying things, and the crowd weren't overly pleased with that action. So I think he turned around trying to give it back to the crowd, and they have none of it.
No, it's up there with one of the dumbest things that you can do, I think, in a sport.
On this weekend.
Given the sacrifices that all our servicemen gave, to not be able to shut up for that 1 minute of silence. You've got 80 minutes ahead of you in a rugby league game, where it's open slather, essentially. You pretty rare to get booted for yelling anything out, during the match play and when the rest of the crowd's up and about. So, to not be able to shut your gob for 1 minute, probably deserved what he got.
Yeah, you can call the ref C-bombs all you want, but talk during the minute of silence, you're getting it.
Again, we don't condone that either, but just reporting what we see sometimes. He did get flogged by another Broncos fan behind him. They were both wearing Broncos jerseys. And interesting, he copped that first right hook and kind of sat him down on the seat, and then he got back up and didn't drop his beer, didn't do anything, still had his hands down, and then copped another few from old mate, and then got sent on his way. He has received a $1,600 fine on top of that as well, and apparently no charges getting pressed. So again, very Australian,
very Australian. Contrast
there to American.
Turn a blind eye.
One of the most hated men in social media in Australia this week. So I think he's taken his medicine, if you would. Speaking about most hated men, no, that's sometimes he comes. Sometimes he comes through with some genuinely good journalism.
He's an insider, so like
he's an insider.
He'll
and
have some
sometimes
good
he's a
news,
genuine flog.
but this is garbage. Yeah,
And yeah, we're talking about Danny Widler here, his first mop of the week, which is interesting. After bringing in this segment, I don't know what's 6 months ago, that Danny hasn't got one, but congrats, you're on the board now, Danny. Reporting on Alex McKinnon's marriage breakup, wrote a whole column.
yeah,
on it.
it's his Sunday column.
That was his Sunday column. Out
pretty
of,
sure,
out of all the things that we could be discussing in the NRL, and we'll get to in a second, the New South Wales Origin,
who's going to play in centres?
Who's going to play in centres with Latrell being out? The Cowboys playing out of their skin. The Titans not playing very well. The Anzac Day clash. There's a plethora of things that our mate Danny Widler could have written about, and no, he wanted to write about Alex McKinnon's marriage breakup. I'm not even going to elaborate further on that. If you want to catch that, go read this Flogs column in the Sunday Telegraph.
Well,
Enjoy your mop.
if anyone's got hair like a mop, it's Danny Widler. So fitting.
Unbelievable. Seriously.
Well, we might get marks on the Photoshop for one of those.
And
Some good material.
Yeah, that concludes the introduction to today's show. Let's get stuck into the IPL. We're about halfway through. Steam's done his best to catch as much as you can. Obviously, the game's in the middle of the night for us. And we said at the top of the show, Josh Butler has been in some incredible form. Match 30 started with the Rajasthan Royals defeating KKR, with Josh Butler getting his first century of this week, 103 off 61. Steam, did you catch much of this one?
No, I think I caught a little bit of the highlights, mainly Yuzi Chahale and his hat-trick.
Mm-hmm.
Got 4 wickets in the over, got 5 wickets in the innings, did a bit of a slide for his hat-trick celebration. And so he's now got 18 wickets for the tournament. He's pretty clear of Natarajan in the purple cap race. So Rajasthan doing very well. They've got Butler in the orange cap and Chahal in the purple cap. And Cummins, he's copped a bit of stick. He
got out for
everyone's
that third hat trick,
a bit of stick from Butler. But,
big time.
Went 1 for 50. And he was actually dropped for KKR's next match in favour of Tim Southey.
Yeah, we were speaking last week about how Camo has been very expensive with the ball, and they've swung the axe there at KKR. So it'll be interesting to see how Tim Southey responds to getting that 4th international player jersey there. It's interesting that you spoke about Josh Butler with the orange cap and Yuzi Chahal with the purple cap. Josh, you'd imagine, just call the contest now. I don't think anyone's catching him with that orange cap. Is that fair to state? He's on 491 runs. KO Rahul, who did ton up, and we'll get to that in a second, his second ton, he's on 368. So if anyone could catch him, it might be Rahul, but Josh Butler, eons ahead there in the race for the orange cap.
Yeah, definitely a race in 2. Probably you'd think, like your boys were talking about a few months ago, a Man City and Liverpool, where City got an unassailable lead, but you think Butler's that far ahead, but stranger things happen.
That is true. We have learned our lesson a few times here on the Esky about not crowing too early, but we'll see how he goes. He is, as it stands, is about 130 runs ahead of KL Rahul there with a match in hand.
And, on the Australian front, it was good to see Finchy got some runs in this game, 58 off 28. So quick fire runs as well. He looked horrible. I didn't see him in this innings, but the innings before he looked absolutely horrible. Like feet were going everywhere. So good to see him get some runs. It was him and Shreyas Iyer that kind of the main ones contributing to the chase for KKR. You feel a bit rough if you get 210 and you can't get the victory. But,
they fell 7 runs short there. So, again, that's off the back of Josh Butler single-handedly winning games for the Royals. We did speak at length last episode about Finch, about how poor his form has been, with the T20 World Cup upcoming in October. A few episodes ago, I thought, Finchy, they'll keep him till then, and then maybe they'll ask him to maybe move forward. But that's still a long way away. It's just as an Australian fan and a guy that I hate it when we turn on our own because they've been in some bad form and forget all the things that, Aaron Finch has accomplished as a cricketer. A few years ago was one of the best white ball cricketers in the world. There's no denying that his form has been horrendous of late. Really good to see him make some quick fire runs. Yes, it was only a 58. It would be good to see him continue and make a really big score this IPL, but we'll take it. It's better than nothing, isn't it?
Yep, it's a start.
Oh, for sure.
All right, let's move forward into match 31, where we saw RCB defeating the Lucknow Super Giants. We saw Faf du Plessis. Shout out to Faf and shout out to anyone in my punters club. That is the name of my team, Faf du Plessis. It's a play on words with the blokes in that team. Plessis rhymes with Pepsi. It's pretty shit yarn, actually, as is much of the punters club yarn. But he fell just short of a century with 96, but it did set up a enthralling game. And what about Josh Hazlewood? Absolute destroyer, 4 for 25 for RCB. Got his good friend Stoyan. Stoyan wasn't too happy about it. Heard swearing on the stump mic. What did we see?
Did you see the ball
with this?
Did you see the ball before?
No,
It was a bad wide, and they didn't call it.
Okay.
So then he got this next ball he got out. So he was looking for the freebie. So I think he was just not happy. But Hazlewood, very good in comparison to where Cummins was. I just want to point that out.
Interesting, isn't it? Hazlewood just lacks that little bit of pace compared to Cummins, but maybe, with the change up, the variation, the better line and length, possibly, more suited to the 4-over format.
Mickey?
Yeah, so what happened with Stoinis, he did make a bit of a movement towards the offside, and that's why it potentially wasn't called a wide, but it was hardly on the cut stuff. Like, it was, even with Stoinis' movement, it was a wide. So Stoinis was not happy about that. And then, so the next ball, he makes an even bigger movement. So he's completely to the offside of his stumps. Hazlewood goes in on his heels. Stoyan does a bit of a flick, but it goes into his peg. So he got bowled around his legs on off stump, essentially. So
right. Big movement there from the big man.
Yeah, like he kind of was, expecting Hazlewood to go wide again and kind of got doubled over. But yeah, that effectively killed off the run chase, sealed the victory for RCB. And Stoyan, you could see that he was swearing and yelling, kind of eventually puts the hand up over the grill to kind of hide potentially what he was saying. But, didn't take too much detective work to figure it out.
I'm sure he put the hand over and said something like, "Great ball, Josh. Well done. Well deserved. I shouldn't have moved that far across my stumps." Something along those lines.
Yeah, exactly.
Moving forward to match 32, our Delhi Capitals cruise to victory here after bowling the Punjab Kings out for a miserable 115. Akshar Patel 2 for 10 and off 4 overs, mind you. So very economical there as well. And Kuldeep Yadav probably been the pick of the Delhi Capitals bowlers so far, 2 for 24. Davey Warner in the runs again, 60 not, and Prithvi Shaw, they cruise to a 9-wicket victory. Good to see Delhi getting a win because they did lose their next match this week.
Yeah, they've been struggling with the Coco a little bit. Mitch March got the Coco, and I forgot the other international, one of the other batters got it as well.
Can you chase that up? Who else?
They had a physio, they got it, and then basically spread it to
those damn physios, infiltrating the COVID into the Delhi Capitals locker room. Mitch Marsh,
well, he had that stinker. And then he tested positive, I think, that evening. So
and got quite sick as well.
Yeah,
I heard.
So potentially he might have played a bit unders because he was feeling
possibly maybe already. Yeah. Let's hope he has a nice speedy recovery because we've seen him be in career best form. Essentially carried our white ball team last year when they played those series in Bangladesh and the West Indies when we, essentially sent, an Australia A-ish side over there without some big names, and Mitch Marsh was in some stellar form. So hoping he makes a quick recovery and gets back into this Delhi Capitals side, which is it's going to be pretty hard for him to do, to be honest, with the 4 internationals that they have there. Andrik Nordkjær, if he becomes healthy at the same time. Steam, have you heard anything about his recovery coming back into this side?
No, I haven't heard anything. I've just noticed his absence more than anything. Yeah,
and they spent big money on him, so it'd be interesting if he is available. You can't imagine Mitch Marsh gets a run, in this side. So it'd be interesting to see what happens moving forward. Alas, we will move forward to the CSK game unless you found out anything more on COVID news there with Delhi.
Just trying to find a list of players.
Last I heard, there was the 2 players and 4 support staff, but that might have been 3 or 4 days ago.
A family member of Ricky Ponting tested positive.
Yep, so Ponting's in isolation.
So Punter's in isolation. No word if he actually has it or not. And then
he's tested negative twice.
Okay, yep.
Thankfully.
Anyways.
Confirmed. Yeah. I think it's just still the 6 there.
Okay.
As you mentioned, 2
Do
players.
you think if Nokia is healthy, he will come in for Mustafiza?
I don't know if like for like players both bowl wheels, but the Fizz has been playing really good cricket. So I don't know if one of the Indian quicks makes it's again.
I'm just thinking you got an international making way for an international kind of thing. If you think they spent the money on Marsh and want to find a spot for him, because I think the internationals are rolling with at the moment Warner, Mustafiza, Rovman Powell, I think he's a West Indian.
Yep, who's been batting in the middle order and hasn't made any real big scores, but he strikes the ball at like 180, 190, does that job for him in the middle order, finishing games. So hard to see him being omitted.
Maybe they're just rolling with a 3 at the moment. Maybe it's the injury. I'm just looking at their most recent team sheet from the game against Rajasthan. I can't pick out any other internationals. So maybe
maybe they have been rolling with the 3. Okay,
injured or COVID. Yeah, who knows?
Interesting moving forward. Again, that we're completely talking in superlative at the moment. We don't really know where Nokia is at with his recovery. If anyone knows, get at us in the comments. Maybe the physio. In his ISO. Moving forward to match 33, the Chennai Super Kings defeated the Mumbai Indians, the hapless Mumbai Indians, the former champs. This was a battle of potential spoon winners here in the IPL. Don't know if they use that term over there in India. If you are listening and you're from India, we give out a wooden spoon here in Australia, proverbial wooden spoon to the teams that finish last in our domestic competitions. The 2 former heavyweights going at it, and the Super Kings coming away with the bickies here. Mumbai remaining, winless at this stage. Dhoni showing his typical class, finishing off with 17 needed off the final over with Jadev Unadkat bowling, wicket, and then single first 2 balls. So. You think, Mumbai are going to get off the mark here. And then Dhoni goes, no, I'm one of the best players ever from India. Let's not forget that. 6-4, 2-4 to win. Unbelievable. And going from one former captain of India to the current one, Rohit Sharma, he's out of form. Steam, what's going on?
Yeah, second ball, I think he was gone in this match maybe. Or very, very early. So he got a duck. Last night, MI played again. He got a few runs, but only half of his innings he's got into double figures or more. So 153 runs at 19 average at this stage of the tournament. You'd be hoping for a lot more from the Indian captain.
Yeah.
And that's really MI story at the moment. They got the big names, but they aren't producing the goods at the moment. So.
Yeah, Ishan, Kishan and SKY haven't been too bad. Go shout out to Tilak Varma, who's not one of the big names for the Mumbai Indians. If not for him, they could have, the net run rate could be even worse. He's through 8 games. He's made 272 runs, 2 not outs. So he's averaging 45 with the stick and striking at 140. So if not for Tilak Varma, it could be even worse for the hapless Indians.
Yeah, well, SKY and Varma have often had to come in 2 or 3 down for not many and kind of steady the ship for a little while. So, without them, they'd be in real big. Well, I mean, they're in big trouble as it is. Yeah, even worse.
even further up shit creek and even further paddleless, if you will. Another big name that's been failing to fire for him is Kyron Pollard. He has 8 innings for just 115 runs. His top score is 25. He's averaging 16 with the stick. He announced this week that he'll be retiring from international cricket as well. One of the best, white ball West Indian, especially at T20 level. The big West Indian, got fond memories of him coming down to Australia and absolutely going berserk with the bat. And fielding well for a big man as well. Was sitting on the fence once at Manuka Oval, the Theatre of Dreams here down in Canberra, and he took an absolute screamer, one-handed, about 6'6", 105 kilo of him, and maybe some more. He moved very well for a big man. He'll be missed, I think, from that West Indian lineup moving forward. He has just stated that he's retiring from the internationals, so still might go around and do a bit of the T20 circuit, make a bit more coin. Anything else from that game? Dan Sams, 4 for 30. Good to see him amongst the wickets. He's been expensive throughout the tournament so far, so this was one of his better games.
Yeah, for sure. He'd only taken 1 wicket in his first 4 matches, so took 4 for 30 in this one, and was really the one who kind of kept MI in it. Kind of kept CSK those wickets falling until, of course, couldn't get the Dhoni wicket that proved all important.
Yeah, Dan Sams nearly getting the bickies there. Match 34, the Rajasthan Royals. Shout out to the late great Richie Benaud. We had this year we had Richie Benaud Day. It should be that's what it's going to be officially renamed. Actually, I think I'm going to write a letter maybe to an MP asking if we can get the 2nd of February 22 changed to Richie Benaud Day. But Rajasthan made 2 for 222 in this one. And shout out also to the late great Desmond Tutu. Obviously a big inspiration for us here on the show. We haven't mentioned Desmond for quite some time. So shout out to both Richie and Desmond and the Rajasthan Royals. And speaking of Tutu, back-to-back centuries for Josh Butler. He has 5 tons in the IPL. There have been 5 tons in the IPL this year. Butler has 3 of them. KL Rahul, the other 2. I sent through the Manhattan, I think, for the IPL to you boys during the week. The old, the skyscraper graph, the runs graph of Josh Butler in the IPL. And, mate, there's some skyscrapers, to tell you what, Manhattan, downtown Manhattan is in the last few games. That is for sure for Josh Butler. It was interesting to see on that as well. Really quite struck. Like, he wasn't electric when he first started his IPL career. Took him a long time to get to 50 runs at all. And then you've just seen his average just climb and climb and climb and climb. I think his overall IPL average is up at about 39 now. And he's been in absolutely stellar form. What are we thinking? Is Josh Butler the best T20 cricketer on the planet right now? Pretty hard to argue against it. Currently.
I think the tournament that Mitch Marsh had probably put him in that conversation, a couple of months ago. But things change very, very quickly. Of current form, it's probably Butler.
Yeah, and it's a bit of a silly question to ask. There's probably 10 names that we could put forward, and perhaps we will chat further about who is the best on the planet at the end of this tournament. But pretty hard to argue against Josh Butler at the moment. Just got his stats up so far at the halfway mark of the tournament. 7 innings, 491 runs, if you don't mind. 3 tons, 2 50s. So only 2 knocks where he hasn't made 50 runs. Averaging 81 and striking. This is probably the most amazing part of it. When you're scoring that many runs and striking at 161, you are in some kind of form. He's seeing them like absolute beach balls. Missed out on a shout of beer. Steam was close. I was definitely close. Hard to shout an Englishman a beer, isn't it? If we had done it, it would have probably been a warm, disgusting beer, that they like to drink over there in that rainy little island. But they have produced, possibly the best T20 cricketer on the planet at the moment in Josh Butler. And it was off the back of Josh's ton in this one that they got over our Delhi Capitals. But DC, they tried their best. They made 8 for 207. Steam, there was some late game controversy in this one. Run us through it.
Yeah, so this will be quite the talking point of the week, I think. Probably the biggest incident, probably after Hazelwood and Stoinis that we already mentioned. But so DC chasing needed 36 off the last 2 overs, and then Prasid Krishna, talk about steely nerves, comes in, bowls the 19th, bowls a wicket maiden. All right, so that means DC they need 36 off the last over. That's 6 a ball for those playing at home. Brovman Powell, he's the facing up against Obed McCoy. First 3 balls, bang, 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 hits them all for 6. But the third ball, all the DC guys, it was a fully, and it was right on his waist. It was a very, very judgment call. Probably depends what colour your shirt is as to whether you think it was above the waist or below the waist. But here's where the controversy kind of really amped up, because as you guys mentioned before, Ricky Ponting, the usual coach of DC, he was not there, out with the family members with COVID. So the stand-in senior coach, Praviv Amre, he actually ran out onto the field to talk to the umpires. Pant, who's the captain, of course, he's seen gesturing his batsmen to come back to the dugout until they, get the third umpire to review the call.
He was blowing up deluxe.
He was. So the umpires, they stood firm. They said, no, we're not reviewing it. We're playing on. But the stop in play from the kind of assistant coach running out into the field, from the batters not knowing to go in when Pants gesturing them or not, it really killed their momentum. Powell has just hit 3 sixes in a row. The bowlers still got to hit 3 more sixes, but the pressure was ramped right up. But then the next ball, dot ball, game over. And so since that game, both Pant and Amre, they've been fined 100% of their match fees, and Amre's been handed a 1-match ban. So, big scenes, big talking points out of that game. Would it have all gone different had Ricky Ponting been there? We can speculate all we want, but who knows?
Cooler heads, maybe.
Yeah, and we can also continue to speculate. There's still a lot on the plate there for them to be able to finish off. But if it's a no-y and you get that extra ball and a free hit, and you've got all the momentum, and Obed McCoy's starting to think, oh, fuck, it's I think in that situation, the pressure's all on the bowler, because the bowler is expected to be able to defend, 36 off the last over.
You're meant to be a dead.
And then when you're out there and you've just been smacked for 3 sixes, had the no ball been called, and you've still got 4 balls to bowl with one of them being a free hit, that's all the pressure back on Obed McCoy. So who knows? I'm glad it happened now and not in a finals game, because this would have been all kinds of fucked up if this was to decide a team going forward or an IPL champion. I still think Delhi with half the tournament left to go, being 3 and 4. I don't know if this is going to cost them, but who knows? If they finish 5th and it's by 2 points, or it's by by a bee's dick on the table.
They're two games behind. So.
Yeah, it could really prove to be the turning point in the Capitals season. Now, shout out to every single person that's played any kind of social cricket or lower grade cricket where the umpire is either someone from the other team, which never helps, or the umpire is someone that's about 78 years old. They're just umpiring.
Should go to Specsavers.
It's literally their outing for the weekend. Good on them to be out there. You probably need their eyes from 1958, not from 2022, and you get absolutely dudded yourself. This has happened to me on occasion. Your eyes light up. Yep, waist height fully.
He's not bitter at all.
This one's going about 20 rows deep, and by 20 rows I mean just past the cone and rolling onto the field next to you, because there's no rows. You're not playing in a stadium because you're shit. and after your eyes light up and you go, yeah, this one's getting the treatment. it hits about on the splice of the bat and just squirts over to square leg, and you get caught, and you go, oh, gee, fuck me. Look at the umpire, and he doesn't bring the arm up, and you go, oh, absolute blow up. 100% of my match fee gone, which was 2 beers, and you're in all kinds of mess. Yeah, yes. Definitely not speaking from experience.
Yeah, no pain there at all. No salt.
Boys, I don't care if you're playing it in the IPL or if you're playing Sunday social cricket here in Canberra, Australia, first grade, mind you, and the square leg umpire isn't watching the game because he's halfway through a dart and he's got a beer in his other hand. Just make sure you're watching that ball. It's very easy to see if that ball is waist height or not. Moving forward, after my little rant there.
Monk's had a
Richard rant, if you will.
A little stat to throw.
Oh, sorry, yeah, just added that stat in behind there. So just reiterating Josh Butler's form. So he's only the second player in IPL history to score consecutive hundreds. The other one being Shikhar Dhawan. Yep. And only the second player again after Virat Kohli to score 3 or more centuries in a single IPL season. So it's being this early on in the season with heaps of games to go, he can put up some huge numbers from the sounds of it.
Could definitely rewrite the record books here, you'd think, in a single season. So we'll follow Josh Butler and how he goes in the back half of this season. I also saw as well, I think there's only a few guys now that have more IPL tons than him. I think Virat Kohli is one, and I think the great man himself, the don't blush baby, the big dick man from Jamaica, Chris Gale, I think he has the most IPL hundreds with 6. So Josh Butler moving forward, who knows? Could be rewriting the record books right in front of us.
Kohli is on that list, and he has fallen very far.
Yes, and that's nearly a perfect segue, but we will.
I know. I was just like, we can't skip the game, but we're pretty close.
It's nearly a perfect segue. We will talk about Kohli in 1 second.
What was that, Mickey?
I was going to say the perfect segue would be from one big dick West Indian journal.
There we go. We've nailed it there. Great segue. Match 35, the Gujarat Titans, 9 for 156. Scrape home against the Kolkata Knight Riders, who fell 2 wickets short. Fell 8 runs short. At 8 for 148. Dre Russ nearly single-handedly winning this game. He bowled just the one over, the 20th. He took 4 for 5, if you don't mind. I think he went wicket, 4-1, wicket, something like that. And he's rocking the big blonde mohawk. He's absolutely prancing around like he does. And then he went on to smash 48 off 25. Lifeline. Caught off the no ball, went on just 4 and nearly made full advantage of it. Just didn't have anyone around to help him get home there. Rashid Khan, I should say, was good there for the Titans. He actually won the man of the match, which is a little bit controversial, I think, in itself. They tend to go with a player that was on the winning side. And Big Dre Russ, he also hit his 1,000th boundary in T20 cricket, 462 fours, 544 sixes, if you don't mind. More sixes than fours. Yeah, 544 sixes. I don't think I've scored 544 runs in my social career. So shout out to Dre Russ for hitting his 1,000th boundary there. Gujarat Titans, they're looking pretty good, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, top of the table.
Top of the table. We've spoken about it in the last few weeks, covering the IPL. That all these teams that we didn't expect to be playing that well. Both the new franchises in Gujarat being first, Lucknow being fourth, Sunrisers, Hyderabad. We're from Hyderabad. They're sitting second. They've won 5 in a row.
Well, they should thank us because we bagged them that they were tanking in the draft, and now they're second.
Yeah, the curse of the commentator. India are afraid of the Gabba. Ooh, Washington Sundar names his dog Gabba, and he says, "Shut up, you idiots down there, down under. We ain't afraid of shit." Yeah, but speaking of Sunrisers, Hyderabad, match 36, one of the strangest ones you'll ever see in the IPL. Mux, can you please Google lowest totals ever in IPL history? RCB, with their talent on paper, if any team got skittled for 68, RCB would really be one of the ones in the back of your mind, but it did happen to him the other night. Virat Kohli, back-to-back Golden Ducks. He's only gone past 12 twice in 8 innings. He's hit 119 runs, averaging 17. What's going on with Virat? Is he broken? Is he in the Aaron Finch realm of just being completely and utterly out of form after being, formerly one of the best white ball players in the world? What's going on with the former Indian skipper?
In this match, he copped a Jaffa from Marco Jansen, who I think took 3 wickets in his first over. The big, tall South African was swinging around, and kind of, as you do, first ball, kind of Virat just wanted to feel bat on the ball and gets a schnicked up to second slip. And I think the match before he might have got caught in the gully or backward point. But just one of those ones, I think, at the moment where he's not getting out like the same way each time. Like, I think when we've kind of talked about Finch, we talk about him always getting out leg before, but it's not like Virat's always getting out the same way. But confidence for sure is kind of it's not there for him at the moment.
It's hard, isn't it? When you're in bad form in cricket, the monkey's on the back, and it just the more it happens, the more it gets in your own head, and it can happen to anyone. A few years ago, Virat Kohli was the best cricketer on the planet, hands down. Yep. And we've seen, this form slump. It transcends all 3 formats, because we haven't seen a test ton from him in donkey's years. It's carried on through to the IPL. Hasn't been great, for India in white ball cricket. It'll be interesting to see. Will we ever see old Virat Kohli?
Can you do me a favour and just turn your internet off on your laptop?
On my laptop? Sure thing. Is our stream struggling?
Yeah, it is a little bit.
Okay, no worries.
I'm just trying to... We're looking all right over here. I'm just wondering if you're stealing stuff.
Maybe. Mooching free Wi-Fi, that's unlike me to do.
What are you downloading?
Had a few things lined up to download that are chewing up the Wi-Fi. Hopefully that's a little bit better.
No. Just going back to those lowest totals. So RCB has the lowest total ever, 49. That was back 23rd. Wow. Coincidences here.
Ooh, omens.
It was against KKR, so that's different there. But it was on the 23rd of April 2017.
You're joking? And
no, same date as this week.
Ooh, Hex Day. Hex Day for RCB, 23rd of April.
That's it. Kohli out first ball duck.
Oh, wow. Jeez, I wish we knew about that and have a little punty lala, a little Ricky Ponting, if you wouldn't mind, on that game. But
that's it.
Who would have thought it? And Sunrisers end up cruising to a 9-wicket victory. What about this pace attack for Sunrisers Hyderabad? They've all been elite. We spoke about T. Natarajan being second in the purple cap race with 15 wickets. Umran Malik been very good. Bhuvneshwar Kumar, everyone knows what he can do. Been a staple in Indian white ball cricket for quite some time with 9 wickets. And Marco Jansen, he's just got that height, that extra pace, that extra bounce. He's got 6 wickets. They've formed a really formidable pace attack, haven't they, Steve?
Yeah, I'm just looking at something here. Malik is probably the surprise packet in that one. Just seeing a headline here, he's bowled 91% of his deliveries 140 kilometres or higher.
Yeah, right.
So he's got wheels.
Genuine pace.
And so that's really good variety. So they got Malik with the pace, Buvy, he can swing it. Jansen's got that
bounce,
and Natarajan is the finisher with the Yorkers. Good mix of left and right armers there too, and it's usually the spinners that we see dominating. But I think I've heard them mention on the calls a few times that because all the games are being confined to just a few stadiums, each of the pitches is having to be used multiple times. They've kind of left more grass on them than they normally would, just so that they get a bit more. You can get more usage out of them. So the Pacers are probably liking that a bit more to their advantage, especially when you compare it to the last couple of years, the dry decks that they've had in the UAE. But obviously, for the Hyderabad, the pace attack is working. Mentioned Chahal, so the spinners are still getting amongst it.
Yep.
That's probably helped the Pacers out, just having a bit more greenness on the decks. this season.
That is, an interesting point that you make there. We've only seen, it's only the 3 grounds, isn't it, between Brabourne, the Wankhede, and Pune?
I think there's a fourth.
Four grounds.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's something that I hadn't considered is the repeated wear and tear on these pitches. And with 10 teams in there as well, just going between the 4 grounds. It's something to consider, and obviously, the Sunrisers pace attack have taken full advantage of it. And the game last night, match 37, we saw Lucknow Super Giants continue to dish out the punishment to the Mumbai Indians. The Indians 0 from 8. Who would have thunk it? Lucknow, they're 168. Well, about 60% of their runs, quick maths, 103. I think it's probably more than that, actually. Came from KL Rahul, his second ton. He's relishing this role in captaining the new franchise on that big deal and seems to be worth every dollar/rupee at the moment. Thoughts on that knock from KL Rahul?
Yeah, it kind of started slow, but he was really the glue that kind of held the innings together. He really scored most of his runs after the power play. That was kind of when he turned it on. But in mentioning about the pitches, this one last night was at the Wankhede, and it was right on one side of the square. So there was a very obvious short side and a very obvious kind of longer side. So, kind of took full advantage of the short side wherever he could.
Yep. He's in some good nick. I tell you, Ishan Kishan, despite them being 0 from 8, he's been not too bad. He started real hot. And then gone cold. Yeah. So he started with 81 and 54, but his last 4 innings only combined 24. So that's real. Like Kishan and Rohit are their openers, and they're both really struggling. And that's kind of what you mentioned at the top. Tilak and SKY have had to come in, steady the ship. But they're just not getting off to good starts. And this run chase never really got going. Never really threatened to get their first win on the board. So Mumbai remain on the donut. They are 0 from 8. They sit on the bottom of the IPL table with 0 points and a net run rate of -1. Chennai Super Kings ahead of them, 2 and 5 in 9th place, followed by the Punjab Kings in 8th. They're 3 and 4. KKR sitting on 7th. They do have an extra game on those 2 franchises, 3 and 5. Our Delhi Capitals sitting 6th, 3 and 4. They are 2 games out of that top 4. RCB just sitting behind Lucknow in 5th place on net run rate. They are 5 and 3. Lucknow sitting in 4th, also 5 and 3 on net run rate. Followed by the Rajasthan Royals and Sunrisers Hyderabad. All of those sides on 10 points. The difference being Sunrisers and Rajasthan are 5 and 2, so they do have a game in hand. And Gujarat Titans sitting first, still 6 and 1 to the new franchise, 12 points, a handy net run rate, and that is essentially the halfway mark of the IPL. And that will wrap us up for cricket. Anything else to add, lads?
No, I think you covered it. Yeah, halfway point. I think, Colley's record was 900 and something for a season runs, so Josh Butler on pace. Does need to do a little bit of work in that back half to potentially catch that, but Rick and giving me stats in the chat, so helping out.
Thank you, Rick, and hopefully we can get on top of the internet and stop downloading dodgy movies as we live podcast. All right, that'll do us for cricket. Let's talk some AFL. Friday night, we had the St Kilda Saints get a win against GWS at Manuka Oval. Toby Green's return after that long suspension, 6-game suspension for the bump on, or the walking into, I guess, is maybe more accurate, on Matt Stevich last year. We won't discuss that much further. It's done. I think 6 games for that was a bit much, but
it's led to what we're getting in the AFL currently, with them cracking down on the refereeing the descent towards the umpires. So it is the catalyst that kicked it all off.
What's our thoughts on this, boys? Mitch Robinson said he can't watch footy anymore. That tweet did the rounds. I think that's a little bit extreme. I still can watch footy, although
it's not as bad as where the NRL got to, but it's getting like it's in that same conversation of where they was last year to now. So, the arm out penalties seem to be a bit excessive for just gesturing. I think
it's a natural reaction. It's
Yeah.
pretty, you'd have to rewire your brain, I think.
Sean Darcy changed it up and put his hands behind his head to make it look a little bit different.
He did, and that was a two-step movement as well, where he's going, oh, and then managed to get them behind his head. I'm just sucking one in. It's a bit much for mine. I think this is a bit of a bullshit overreaction. It's interesting as well, how it tends to work out if we're, bagging Aaron Finch and he goes out to score runs. If we're bagging the Indian cricket team, they go to kill us at the Gabba. If I commend Gil McLaughlin and all his good work in getting the game back from COVID and not implementing stupid rules, we did see the standing on the mark, a little bit of teething around that one last year. Did change the game a bit. Don't mind it. I think it's been okay. This one is a bit too much for me. Steam, what are your thoughts on this new descent rule?
I think AFL likes to do this. They go hard and they overcorrect on purpose, and then the pendulum kind of swings back. So I think even from that Friday night game to the Saturday, you could see there was a bit of a correction. And like you boys mentioned with Sean Darcy, he kind of puts his arms out and then he's learned the lesson a bit and say, oh, no, don't do that. And I think they're getting to, like you say, that people talk with their hands and move your hands around. Holding your hands out is not necessarily aggressive or dissent, but can be a genuine kind of question, and that can be done with respect. And I think they obviously, I think the intention behind it of actually showing respect and not being abusive is a good idea. But and that's where it's got to be. If a player is having a respectful, questioning and conversation, fair enough. If they're blowing up, dissent, very obvious kind of aggression, well, that's where you can kind of penalise them. So, but I kind of expect that it'll correct itself a bit. They've kind of gone a bit hard over on tops on purpose, and it'll swing back a little bit.
Let's hope so, because a few of these ones were utterly ridiculous. As a man of Italian heritage, I can say it is sometimes quite hard not to speak without using your hands, a little bit of the bibbity-bobbity. I do agree. They've gone hard, and let's hopefully see the pendulum swing back, because it is hard, especially when you're just reacting to something and you're not being verbally abusive, just the hands going up in the air. It can be swinging a little bit too hard in that direction. Shout out to a bloke that plays a bit of footy with me, Jesse McPhail. He said he had to look up dissent in the dictionary. We didn't even really know what dissent was. Straight from the Oxford here, or / the Google definition of it. That might be, I don't actually own an Oxford dictionary. The holding or expression of opinions at variance with those commonly or officially held. Disagreeing essentially with the umpire, and whether that be verbally or physically, with throwing your hands in the air like you just don't care. It's what's been implemented by the AFL. Let's hope it doesn't ruin too many games. And we haven't really seen this week a game being decided by a dissent call. So let's hope nothing decides the game. Let's talk about the Saints. All dissenting aside, they're 5 in a row. They're playing some really good footy. I think everyone kind of expected a little bit of an upturn this year from St Kilda. Did anyone expect them to be 5-1? No, probably not. The tip rat, Jack Higgins, he's been very good. 4 goals on Friday night. He also had 4 against Freo and 5 against the Suns last week. In some great form, the former Richmond product. Jack Steele, he is just consistent. 110 fantasy points, 29 disposals on Friday night. How about this year? The lowest that he's had in fantasy, 101 against the Tigers. Lowest disposals, 23 against Freo. He never really puts up that, you know, that 40 disposal, 150 fantasy point game, but he's always consistently good, and nice for him to return to the place that he grew up and get a win in front of hopefully some home friends and family. A bit of a sad one out of this one. Jack Hayes, Monks, can you just confirm that his ACL is ruptured, please? If he has had,
he's done.
His scans.
Yeah.
A really big shame here because he had been looking pretty good in terms of being one of those mature age guys that gets a bit of a second chance. You know, the Saints and Rats really had his back, saying you know that they're expected to re-sign him and back him in throughout his rehab. And that's happened. Yeah, run us through, Steam, what you've heard in the last few days since Jack did his ACL.
Yeah, not sure on the details of his contract. I just know that they have given him another contract for next year at least.
Yeah.
Love
to see that. Yeah, good from really classy from St Kilda.
Probably like Paddy Ryder's not getting any younger, so makes sense for them to invest in Hayes, and I think everyone's liked what they've seen from him so far, which kind of makes you wonder how he's gotten to the age that he has in his career without getting a crack, but has made the most of it. And hate to see these kind of injuries, but good form from the Saints, I think, in offering that contract so quickly.
Well done to the Saints there. A team that is kind of reeling and struggling and underperforming. Look, we didn't think the GWS Giants would be, premiership favourites or anything by any stretch. Kind of conversely to the Saints, they're 1-5. Did we expect them to be this bad? Steam, what's your take on this? You reckon it has to do a lot with their forward line?
Toby Green missing.
That probably doesn't help either. Toby Green missing the first 5 games probably doesn't help. Do they win many of those games if they had Toby Green? Who knows? Steam, your thoughts?
Yeah, that's part of it. Green out, so they're only averaging 69 points per game this year. That's the third lowest, behind only in front of West Coast and North Melbourne.
Yep.
I just think like in the last couple of years, so go back 2 years, they had Jeremy Cameron, also Jeremy Finlayson, and Harry Himmelberg could kind of be the second or third guy. He now has to be number one, and I just don't think he is a number one. Jesse Hogan's their other tall forward, and so he didn't play the match against St Kilda, but the week before against Melbourne, he doesn't look like he's leading up towards the ball, kind of wants cheap ones out the back. A lot of the time, the Melbourne defenders are obviously very good, but they were the ones leading up to the ball, taking intercept marks. Like Jesse Hogan and Himmelberg, neither of them looks like a reliable tall target at the moment. And they're kind of having to rely on throwing guys like Cornelio and Taranto forward. I tell you, the one guy, you mentioned Jack Steele returning back to Canberra. Did you see there was a marquee set up as the official Tom Green fan club?
Oh, I did see that. Shout out to Tom Green, former Marist Brothers player, who is been really elite this year for the Giants. Apparently his younger brother's pretty good as well. Nice to see a few Canberra boys doing it big on the big stage. Canberra, look, not known for its AFL prowess, although has produced some absolute superstars of the game. Jezelenko comes to mind. Aaron Hamill, who we saw speaking at
Buckley.
Buckley,
and Hurd have both gone through Canberra systems.
Some pretty big names there to come out of AFL Canberra, indeed. Yes, I did see the Tom Green marquee set up there on the hill at Manuka Oval. Just wishing that the Giants are able to get a few more results, but he's been very good. What are your thoughts on Tom Green's evolution as a footballer this year, Steve?
Oh yeah, he's coming on leaps and bounds, and he was the one that just popped into my mind as with Taranto and Cornelio, kind of the midfielders that they're sending forward, who they're trying to get goals out of their midfielders. So yeah, that's kind of, and he's been able to contribute in that area, but he just looks so strong around the footy. Really getting into the size and that age where he's kind of grown into his body, got a real AFL kind of strength and very hard to tackle around the contest. So he's looking like a gun. But they don't need more midfield guns at the moment. They need some firepower up.
Yeah, that's right. You can have the strongest midfielder in the competition, but if you got no one to finish it off at that forward end, it's going to make things pretty difficult. Be interesting to see if they can recover from 1 and 5. We do know.
I mean, they're just looking at the schedule. They're up against the Crom next week.
The mighty Crom.
Yeah, which could segue us.
Yeah,
into the
that's a
next
segue.
one.
Is it?
The Crom, 1 point winners down in Ballarat against the Bulldogs. Love to see these country footy games, boys. Ballarat, obviously footy mad down there in the Victorian countryside. The ground probably, I don't know if it's quite up to the elite levels of a Launceston like we're watching at the moment with the Hawks and Swans, or now with the world class facilities at Manuka Oval. They did have the cameraman at one end up in the scissor lift, which is interesting to see.
And it's usually very windy in Ballarat as well.
Yeah. So we saw a low scoring encounter in this one. No Tim English for the Bulldogs. We spoke about him last week. I think we've spoken about him most weeks here with our AFL segment. Really coming along as and stamping his name as an elite ruckman in this league. Gets plenty of touches, bounces the footy, which we don't normally see out of ruckman. I'm definitely not allowed to do it. And speaking of ruckman, Steph Martin, possibly the smartest footy player ever. Did you know that his ATAR was 99.7 and ended up playing Aussie rules footy in game 200? But the Bulldogs fell agonisingly short. Robbie McComb as well. We spoke about mature age players before in Jack Hayes. Made his AFL debut at the age of 26. 4 years for Footscray in the VFL, including a BNF. Didn't get the dream debut, but good on him for never saying die and realising his AFL dream at the age of 26, which in AFL terms is fucking pretty old, really. But the Crom, they spoilt the party. They go to 3-3. They're surprising a lot. Steen, did you catch this game or the highlights, and what were your thoughts?
Yeah, I did. So kind of the notes say that Riley O'Brien, the Crows ruckman, he had a day out, and like you've mentioned, that English out made a big difference for the Dogs. They really couldn't get it out of their back line. The Crows' pressure was good, and their tall defenders, Aaron Norton and Jamara Ugle-Hagan, they couldn't really seem to figure things out. A lot of the time they were flying for the same footy. Their spacing and their leading, they were very, very slow, very un-Bulldogs-like coming out of their background, out of their back line, sorry. But the Crows, part of that was the Crows' pressure. And Riley O'Brien taking plenty of intercept marks. And the Crows were definitely just way more efficient when they got into their forward line.
Yep.
Tex Walker kicked his 500th.
Yep.
Kicked a nice one from the boundary line to kind of seal the victory. And, plenty of guys in the Dogs engine room get plenty of touches, but Rory Laird and Ben Keys were really working hard in the Crows midfield. And Keys is one of these guys he couldn't get a run at Brisbane. In the last year and this season at Adelaide, he has really come into he's a genuine A-grader now.
It's been pretty wild to watch him develop, especially last year and continuing it into this year. A solid bull midfielder, but looking at him, he's a physical specimen. And one of those players that he just couldn't get it done at the line. He was at the Suns as well, was he not? And I think delisted from both.
I think just the Lions.
Just the Lions. Can you chase that up?
Yeah.
Ben Keys. Ben Keys. He's been unreal. He actually could have had himself a 3 Brownlow vote confirmed day. He kicked he kicked 4 behinds and on top of his 33 disposals. So, imagine if he kicked 2 or 3 of those, 33 and 3, you'd imagine you get the 3 Brownlow votes there. Tex Walker still copping a few boos from the crowd. Do we think that's maybe still deserved? Obviously, he's been very, very good for Adelaide since coming back from the suspension around that racial slur.
If I'm Texas, don't worry about it. Keep booting goals and people will start forgetting.
Yeah, fair. And
just got to play football.
Yep, and also what he did, I think fair enough for some of the crowd to be booing, but obviously it's not affecting him as a footballer. Maybe it's using, he's using it as a bit of motivation, but he has been very, very good since coming back from that suspension. The Crom, they're 3-3. And I tell you what, maybe you have to pencil in, some Crom viewing because each game they play seems to be very, very close. I think only Collingwood beat them by about 30-odd points. Either way, they're either winning games by a point or back in round 1, they lost that one to Fremantle by a point. They've been involved in some cracking matchups.
After the siren, winner in the showdown as well.
How good there, the Jordan Dawson reverse swinger. That was
definitely becoming must watch each week. Yeah, you'll know you get a close game when you turn on and watch the Crom.
Up the Crom. Now, from one side of Adelaide to the other, Port are finally off the donut. They smacked the hapless Eagles in Adelaide on the weekend, 117 to just 33. Todd Marshall booted 5. We've seen him be a bit hot and cold. I think this is the second time he's booted 5, or was it 4? No, I think it's the second time he's kicked 5 goals.
He got 5 in the showdown.
Yep. So when he shows up hard. Dan Houston had 33 disposals out of that, half back with 25 kicks. Boken Wines, good as usual. Water is wet. Port will be very, very happy to get off that donut. No one really expected them to be as poor as they've been. And speaking of, look, everyone kind of thought it would be a down year for the West Coast Eagles. They are ageing. They are injury plagued. Did you expect them to be this bad, Steam?
I think in the season preview, I said they were my big kind of slider for the year. They've been really hit with they were hit with injuries pre-season, and then in season, COVID has had them. I think I heard they had 13 debutants this year already, which is wild, given that it's 6 games. So I think they've used 41 players or something like that already. So they're just not having any consistency week to week of who's in their team. Yeah, definitely haven't got close to having their best 22 on the park for any match this year. So, I mean, would be tough times over in Perth at the moment if you're an Eagles fan.
Especially with Freo doing so well.
That's right. So, for a club that is so used to playing finals and winning finals,
success, this
is a big fall from where they usually are.
And that's an interesting point. They won the whole thing in 2018, just 4 years ago. Despite, all the adversity that they have faced through injury, COVID and the like, there's a lot of players that played in this game that, that they went down by 90 points to Port that were in that grand final side. The likes of Shannon Hearn, the likes of Tom Barrass, through the midfield, you've got Elliot Yeo, you've got Jack Redden, up forward, Josh Kennedy, you've got Norm Smith winner in Luke Shuey. With all these guys there, Liam Ryan was in that side, Liam Duggan was in that side. Are they just getting on a little bit? Are they, kind of like everyone likes to joke about Geelong aging? Are they just a little bit past it? You'd think with, 8 or 9 guys that won a grand final, you couldn't be this bad.
Yeah, they kind of, after the GF, they kind of sold the farm to bring across Tim Kelly from Geelong. And so they really haven't had the draft picks then to bring in the young
talent,
fellas. Yeah, so... Yeah, they are a very old list, and now Josh Kennedy definitely looks like he's in his last season. I don't know, maybe Shannon Hearn the same, but yeah, they're a very old side now, and they haven't really had that injection of youth. to kind of keep them up with the top teams.
Be interesting to see what happens with West Coast moving forward. Being historically bad, and like we just mentioned, a team that's been historically good has been the Fremantle Dockers. They're 5-1. They beat our Blues team. Got out to an early lead and never really looked like losing it. Big out early on was Mark Pitnett for the Blues. That big knee-on-knee contact with Sean Darcy, perhaps PCL. Have we got any news on that, Steam? Do you know?
I haven't heard anything since the game.
We'll get Monkey Magic to chase that one up. They did lose both. Both sides lost their starting ruckman with Sean Darcy going later in the matchup with concussion. Adam Chera, the big signing one of the big signings for the Blues in the off season, copping some boos from the Fremantle fans, obviously coming across. To go back home, he was homesick. To go back to Melbourne, you're probably going to cop that. If a team feels like you've abandoned them. Paddy Cripps was great despite being in a losing side. We have spoken at length about his comeback. He doesn't look so busted up this year. The shoulder and back and. Yeah, the hamstring, just
had the 1 week out.
Just 1 week, which is always good. We kind of speculated maybe it would be a 3 to 4 weeker. No, just a 1 week out. He had 32 disposals, 3 goals. Probably Carlton's best player on the field. How did Freo, get this one done? They look pretty good up front. Rory Lobb and Lockie Schultz had 3 each, 2 each for Switkowski and Michael Walters, who hasn't been in the best form. Steam, I imagine you caught all of this one, as did I. What were your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I think, like you mentioned, the small forwards there for Fremantle, Schultz, Switkowski and Walters, they impacted the scoreboard a few times. They were able to get onto the end of it, get on a lead, where Carlton, it seemed like plan 1A was disrupted a little bit. Obviously, Pitnett got injured early in the game. And then Tom De Koning went into the ruck. They like to use De Koning as a third tall up front with Harry and Charlie, and kind of either send Charlie or De Koning kind of up to the wing for the bailout kick to then get it into the other two. And it kind of seemed when De Koning had to go into the ruck, Carlton's ball movement was very stagnant. Seemed like the plan was just bomb it onto Harry and Charlie's heads, and everyone in the stadium knew it, including the Freo defenders, and they were just either able to spoil it or intercept market themselves. Where Freo going into their forward line, they kind of lowered the eyes a bit more, hit up leading targets. So that's what I want to see from Carlton going forward. They seem to go long and high far too often. I think Vossi kind of needs to get him to lower the eyes, get some of the smaller guys. Hopefully Jack Silvani can come back. He's a good player on the lead. I think didn't really seem to have another plan besides just bomb it onto Harry and Charlie's head, which they might grab it occasionally, but if everyone in the stadium knows what's going to happen, it's easy to defend. Indeed.
Thoughts on Fremantle, 5-1? Should Dockers fans be getting up and about? Do we think that they are as good as that record suggests?
I think they'd be excited that they beat Carlton. That was probably their first real big test. Obviously, we mentioned they got the 1 point victory over the Crows, but probably apart from those two, they haven't really played top level talent. I think they've played St Kilda and West Coast, and but next week they go to Geelong to play the Cats. So that's a real litmus test for them to find out where they're at. They haven't had a real kind of test so far this season. But good victory over Carlton. But I think this game against Geelong we'll see where Freo are at.
Yeah, looking forward to see what they can do against the Cats, and that's a good segue into the Geelong Cats belting the Kangaroos by 60 points yesterday. 7 goals for Jez Cameron, 4 for Tom Hawkins. They are first and second in the Coleman race with 20 and 19 respectively. Geelong's looking pretty good, controlled the whole game. Often the Kangaroos, being in Hobart, play a little bit better than they would, in Victoria, or the opposing team isn't able to adjust to the conditions. I didn't catch this one. I thought Geelong versus North Melbourne. I think I know how this one might go. Geelong coming away 60-point winners. I went to go watch The Batman with the misso. Not bad. It's not quite Nolan good. I will say it's not quite Nolan good, but very different kind of approach to The Batman. Check that one out if that's the way that you like to, split up your time not watching sport. Watching a few movies here and there. Steam, did you catch this one or the highlights at least?
I had the same thought. I thought this one will go to a certain script, and I'll save myself the time. And it looks like it went to exactly that script.
Yep. Geelong good, Kangaroos bad. Anything further to discuss? Q Clash yesterday. The Lions coming away 42-point winners in that one. 132 over the Gold Coast Suns, 80. The small forwards, and I think this is a really nice point that you've put here, Steam, in Zach Bailey winning his first Marcus Ashcroft medal. He has been really, really good. And Charlie Cameron and Ash McGrath, the only players to kick 6 goals in Q Clash history. Charlie also chipping in with 4 in this match. Lions small forwards absolutely dominating the Suns up front. What do we make of this one?
Lions good, Suns
bad. Exactly that. Yeah. Another game that I checked in here and there, but kind of thought, this one will go to script as well, and it did. I think the Lions have had the wood over the Suns for a few years.
Yeah. Yep.
Now, and I think they'll be looking forward to next week when they play Sydney at the SCG. That'll be a cracker. But Lions looking pretty at 5-1. I think they got off to a slow start last year, so that Lions fans will be happy that they've got off to a better start this year.
Yeah. Charlie kicked straight in this. Jared got 1 and took Miller's 90% bicep. Took Miller's 90% bicep.
He's a very good player. And
he's jacked.
He is a good looking rooster, that is for sure. Big Warwick Farms on Took Miller. Brisbane Lions, they're 5-1. We just spoke about Fremantle. We just spoke about St Kilda. Something tells me that Brisbane are the real deal, whereas Freo and St Kilda still unproven. They're the 3 teams that are on 5-1. What are your thoughts there, Steve? Do you think Brisbane are the best out of those 5-1 teams?
Yeah, totally agree with what you just said. Yeah.
Okay. And then in what's becoming a bit of a fixture in the AFL calendar, the warm-up to Anzac Day, the Melbourne Demons and the Richmond Tigers going to the G last night, about 80,000 in to see it. You love to see full houses here, especially, still, memories of empty stadiums and echoes and hearing the ball hit players' feet, picked up by the microphone. You love to see a full house. The Demons, they started slow in this one. They didn't really kick very straight, but they got the bickies coming away winners by 22 points. Demons 6-0. They've won 13 games straight, including the big dance. Steam, did you catch this one? I watched it all. Your thoughts on this one, please?
Yeah, the Demons, they looked in control most of the game. Like the only thing that really kept it close was inaccurate goal kicking. They had 3-12 at halftime before eventually finishing 9-22. Yeah, I was particularly keeping an eye on Christian Petrarca being my fantasy captain in one of my leagues, and he looked very in second or third gear. Didn't look that interested in laying a tackle because he didn't have any, but he didn't need to. But Clayton Oliver, he was the dominant midfielder. 41 touches, 22 contested. I can't remember the exact numbers, but the coverage they're talking about, just how often he goes over 20 contested possessions, freakish, kind of 13 clearances as well. He was a clear best on ground, getting the Checker Hughes medal. Richmond they didn't have the firepower to go with the Demons, which I don't think many teams in the comp do.
No, and in fact, maybe it comes down to Melbourne not kicking very straight last night, but I was impressed with the Tigers. I did think this might have been a little bit more one-sided. So especially in that first half, being able to run with the defending champs. The D's are probably looking like red-hot favourites to defend, that premiership. Clayton Oliver, like you said, Steve, hands down best on ground. He is really developing into an elite footballer. We talk about him every week, but they always seem to show up. Maxi Gawn, Clayton Oliver, Petrarca a little bit quiet yesterday. A shout out to the big Nank the Tank, big Toby Nankervis. I thought he was quite good in the ruck going up against the premier ruckman in the league. Definitely held his own. I thought he wasn't bad. And news coming out that Dusty is back training with Richmond.
I'm not sure if he's training, but I saw that he's back in Melbourne, essentially. He was back in Victoria.
Yeah.
So interesting to
He's
see.
been doing light training.
Yeah. Interesting to see what happens moving forward. Don't want to sound like a broken record. His old man passed. He's done everything that you could ask for a bloke, in terms of, winning 3 flags and always showing up come finals. I don't think they need to rush him back into the side. Takeaway from this one is who can match the Demons, I reckon.
Yep, agree.
Yeah, one final note on this game, boys. That nice little moment they showed Ash Barty in the crowd.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously a big Tigers fan, and the score was 40-all, deuce.
Deuce. Desmond.
Nice little, good number, kind of moment there.
That was nice to see. Our girl Ash, obviously a lot of speculation as to what she's going to do after retiring from tennis. Is she just laying low? Is she playing golf? Is she going to have a baby? Who knows? We'll see.
She's playing in a celebrity golf tournament sometimes.
She's been playing a bunch of golf.
Very handy. Yeah, we did. Did we talk about it on the pod or off air?
So.
I was on the pod.
On the pod.
Winning a comp at Brookwater, her home course up there in Brisbane, out of a field of 4. So good on you. The other 3 girls out there going against Ash Barty. I think she plays off 4. Is her golf handicap.
That's it. Yeah.
Alas, we have the Hawthorn Sydney game currently underway. Hawthorn looking pretty good down there in Launceston, 16 points ahead of the Swans, moving 2 minutes away from half time. Haven't been able to concentrate too much on this one. Have you seen much down that end there, Sean?
Yeah, I saw the Swans have had at least 3 good opportunities, which they probably should have turned into goals. So, Buddy with 2 of those that ended up being behind. So I think they're definitely getting the opportunities, and they're not too far behind. But yeah, it's a good competitive game. Hawthorn coming to play.
Hawthorn been a real surprise packet. I don't think anyone expected them to be as good as they've been.
Newcomb's been good for them.
Yeah, Jai Newcomb, shout out to him. He's built like a tank. He's only 19 years old. He will develop into a really strong ball midfielder, you'd imagine.
I think he's a bit older than that. He was picked up as part of the mid-season draft last year. So I think he's a mature age player.
He's not, maybe he's 2021. Have we got internet? Can you chase that up? Or are we still going internet free? I'm internet free, so everything's coming.
I think you go back to internet.
Top of the dome. So Sydney have just taken a mark here inside 50, but we're going to see a close second half by the looks, which is really
Newcomb's
good.
20.
There you go.
20. There we go.
Maybe he's 19 last year.
Yeah, one off. You take that. Jeez, that's one standard deviation, isn't it?
That's younger than I thought, in fairness. So, yeah.
Thank you, Steen.
Just looking at the stats, Buddy's got 1 goal 4.
Okay.
And
they've just sprayed another one there. So it's.
I think that's been the tale of the game so far. They've had some really good opportunities like that where they probably should convert into goals, and been spraying them.
We'll keep an eye on that one as the podcast unravels. Obviously, the big classic Anzac Day clash is the Bombers and Pies that will follow this one. The Bombers have had a really slow start to the year, although have played some pretty good sides. And Collingwood probably playing a little bit overs of what people expect. Steam, can I get your thoughts before you leave us on the big Anzac Day clash at the G?
Yeah, well, Bombers have been mauled in the media this week. I think they got rolled by Fremantle in the second half last week. Lots of vision of Fremantle players running flat chat and just going straight past them, fairly kind of lackadaisical. Bombers not really putting in much of a chase. So be interesting to see if, Anzac Day should fire you up.
Yeah, bloody
anyway, but what they've copped in the press this week probably need fire them up too. But they need to win this, the Bombers, because I think at the start of the year I said, they were probably going to be around 6 or 7 on the ladder, and if they drop this one, they've only got the one win for the season, and it'll be a long climb back up. And like you said, Collingwood been probably a bit better than expected. Been a long time since they played. They played Thursday before Easter, so it's about 11 or 12 days since they played. So they've almost had a mini bye. But they were very competitive against Brisbane in Brisbane. So I think this will be a great game today. I think it'll be very close, but I think I've tipped Collingwood.
I also think I've tipped the Pies. They are favourites at $1.58. Essendon $2.34. Probably just hoping, as a neutral that really doesn't enjoy either of these sides as a Carlton fan, I'm just hoping for a nice match up on Anzac Day and no blowout either way. I think you hit the nail on the head there, Steam, in that and really good use of the word lackadaisical there. It's probably one that's not in my vocabulary, despite all the Wordle I've been playing. Obviously, doesn't fit in a Wordle 5-letter game, but I do agree that Essendon, it does seem like something's lacking a little bit with the effort there. But it'll be interesting to see how they show up, with 90,000 perhaps in there at the G on Anzac Day. If that doesn't get the blood pumping, then check your pulse. You might be dead.
So it's got Merritt and Stringer back
both returning. So that's
Merritt, I think, is far ahead of schedule. I think he had, like Sam Walsh, had the syndesmosis and has recovered quicker than expected. So
freaks of nature. That's what you like to call these kind of blokes. The dreaded syndesmosis. Guys can miss 2 to 3 months from these injuries, and when guys bounce back, it just kind of makes you wonder that there is something about an elite athlete in a Zach Merritt or a Sam Walsh that enables them to heal so quickly and bounce back. I can't wait to get on the couch and chuck this massive Anzac Day clash on in a couple of hours.
Definitely.
All right, lads, I think that will wrap up our AFL coverage for this week. Thank you so much to the Steam, the Rev, for joining us from Adelaide. I hope you enjoy this afternoon's matchups. Thank you so much for your insights.
I'll be on the couch as well. So.
Yeah, it's a good place. It's a good place to be. Thank you so much for your insights into the cricket and the AFL and joining us via the cam. Enjoy the last day of isolation and going back into the real world tomorrow, mate.
Cool. Thanks, lads. Have a good one.
Thanks, Becky.
See you later.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye. And as Michael drops off, we'll get into the NRL and what an enticing few games that we've had so far, leading into the 2 Anzac Day matchups between the Chooks and the Dragons at 4 o'clock and the Melbourne Storm and the New Zealand Warriors at 7 o'clock. But let's review the games that have already been played this round 7 in the NRL. And the Battle of the Beaches Thursday night, the Cronulla Sharks beat the Manly Sea Eagles 34-22. This one was 34-0 at halftime. CSC for Talakai may have played the best half of footy I've ever seen out of one player. 2 tries, 3 try assists, including one where he put a little grubber through.
That's all right.
A bloke of his size, he's listed at 100 kilos officially. I reckon he's probably
That's his
$1.05.
weigh-in.
Yeah, that's his weigh-in. He walks around at $1.08. I reckon. He scored or set up every single try in that first half, if you don't mind, to get the Sharks out to a commanding lead. But then the Sharks, they had a quiet second half. All players, not just Talakai, and Manly came
he
back
got
a little
sin bin,
bit.
didn't he?
I think there might have been a sin bin in that.
He
was.
put in the first half and was like, yes.
No, it was on the Manly side. Hamolo.
Oh yeah, it was Olakuatu that got
Olakuatu,
sin bin.
yeah.
Olakuatu, yeah, there was. I do remember. It's hard keeping him on top of each sin binning in each game, considering there tends to be one per game. That's right. It was Olakuatu who got sin binned in this one. Now we did mention at the top of the show the 3 or 4. A centre jersey will be available for game 1 for the New South Wales Blues, with Latrell out with his hamstring tendon issue. Talakai has definitely put his hand up. He's eligible for the Blues. There was some talk around his eligibility. Definitely confirmed Blues origin eligible. He does have that rare size of... that rare combination of size and speed. You look at a guy of his size, you don't think that he should be able to move as nimbly as he does. Had been, a second rower and it's moved out to the centres and it's paid dividends for him and the Sharks. Do we see him playing for the Blues this year?
Well, he goes up against Containing Stags this week, so
Nice matchup.
That's probably the matchup. We'll have to see. That could be the addition.
And it's definitely not
tape for it.
It's definitely not a 2-horse race either, because we saw Stephen Crichton have an absolute blinder last night. We'll get to him in a second. But CSO for Talakai has been absolutely unreal, and pretty good being Ronaldo Mulatalo playing on the outside of him as well. He got in for 2 meat pies. Nico Hines has been absolutely amazing, playing 7. A lot of people thought, oh, well, look, he's been in a good system. He's going to be playing halfback where he hasn't played before. He's going to, there's going to be some teething issues. It's going to take some time for him to become an elite halfback in the NRL, and none of that has come to fruition at all.
Walks right in, all good.
Playing unbelievable, and maybe one of the hottest guys in the NRL. I can say that as a straight man.
You just love the long hair.
Good shout.
Can appreciate that those curls, those locks. He has been very, very good for Cronulla. Now Manly, they did come back in the second half. It was one of those games where there was a strong wind. It started pissing down rain in the second half.
Yeah.
So there was definitely a scoring end. I believe every single try was at one end. I think there was only a penalty goal up at the other end. Manly has still been pretty good, but I think they look, and Turbo aside, does Tommy Turbo being in that side make a massive difference, or are Cronulla just that step ahead of them? It'd be interesting to see moving forward, but Cronulla, despite the comeback from Manly there, looked really, really good.
Yeah.
Friday night, we saw the Broncos take on the Bulldogs at Suncorp Stadium. Now,
we talked a lot about this game already, but I think the main point there is probably Adam Reynolds.
Yes.
He had an absolute game in this to put what was a pretty close contest, and then the last 30 minutes just put them over the head, and they went bang, bang, bang with the tries, and Cobbo got a double in that time frame. But Reynolds basically controlling, running them all over the park to get a win there. So.
2 sides there that we probably don't expect to be challenging for the top 8, although the Broncos definitely look a step ahead of the Bulldogs. Bulldogs, obviously, with that big caveat of missing a fair few players due to the COVID. Jake Averillo and Brent Naden, the most notable of them. I agree. Reynolds probably his best game so far as a Bronco.
Yep.
Moving into Saturday's games, the Cowboys flogged the Gold Coast Titans 30-4. The Cowboys are now 4-3. Mm-hmm. They're sitting 5th. They've lost 2 games to the Bulldogs, and who else beat them by a point?
Brisbane.
Yes, Brisbane.
Because they played Brisbane twice and they're 1-1.
So